All this week, we're letting our experts predict where the next bubble will be. Here for today's pick, Larry Shover of SFG Alternatives. Larry, what do you think is poised to pop?
I think it's the China real estate market in general. It's going to create a lot of other bubbles. But consider this right now. China construction as a proportion of GDP rivals that of Ireland and Spain at its peak. If that's not scary enough, Chinese GDP is 20% made up of the broad real estate market compared to the United States, about 5%. 40% of all income received from real estate goes to support Chinese local government. If that's not bad enough, 80% of collateral held by banks for bank and trust products in China is real estate. Imagine if we have...
No, I hear you. I don't want to interrupt you, but before we run out of time, the government is obviously very invested in pumping up this economy. They have always managed it so closely. The State Council announcing yesterday a big stimulus plan, railways, low-income housing, tax breaks. They haven't said how much they're going to spend, but they're very committed to not letting this bubble burst. You don't think that'll work?
I hope it does work, and I think they're taking the pain right now. But the fact is, this bubble has been blowing up for about 4 or 5 years now. With that in mind, you cannot have a sustained slowdown of growth and credit. That's another bubble that goes side by side with real estate when the cost of capital exceeds the slowdown we're seeing in GDP. I mean, right now, a third of the private sector in China is using shadow banking systems, and they're borrowing money in the high teens. This cannot be sustained.
So,
Larry,
just
can't be.
Yeah, I mean, you're pointing to one that is making a lot of people nervous right now. What are the ramifications here in the U.S., and how do you insulate yourself?
Well, I think the ramifications, we'd have a devalued RMB, the local currency, due to capital flight. I mean, a big slowdown in M1, and it has caused the equity market around the world just to have an enormous correction if this should happen. So really the only way you can protect yourself is make sure you have a volatility reducer in your portfolio, because you'll never be able to guess when the bubble is going to burst. So that means maybe like managed futures or a VIX product, something that will absorb the volatility once it hits.
Larry, thanks so much. Veronica, what do you think of that?
Yeah, in terms of the bubble in the housing market, it's really hard to say, because there's area in China that have so much construction, but then there's areas that actually need that construction and they're short. So it's understanding the metrics behind all the Chinese figures, it's sort of a black box. He does have a really good point, though, about the shadow banks and the unregulated lending. I think that's got a lot of people worried of where the bottom is with that and how that turns out for their economy.
And his point is really scary, that it would have a huge impact on equities here in the U.S. We only have a couple seconds left. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, and in terms of our exports, too, we're exporting, helping them with construction materials. That's going to cause us to take a hit as well.
Yeah. All right. Veronica, thank you so much. That's all we have for now.